Cup match today is between Brandon G and Kevin R. I'm your host for today, Mark. Uh, I will be doing a solo commentate this time. It's a little bit of a late notice, and that's my own fault, but hopefully you guys can come and hang out. Feel free to ask questions in the chat or anything you want to talk about, and we can get it going. Players have already done obstacles and set up, so we're going to be seeing some movement in just a minute here, and I will get the clock going as we do that. All right. So Brandon's just going to move Leighton up a little bit. The thing here is that running down the list a little bit, Brandon's got basically a two-ship list with Leighton filler. Brandon's got Paylob, the Indestructible, who's been just wreaking havoc across the Corona Cup this time. It's Hawk, but he's got Moldy Crow, Stealth Device, and most importantly, he's got Lando on there, which is going to let him spend those green tokens, not just for their intended effect, but also for offensive or defensive rerolls. Very, very difficult to push through, especially if he's rolling around with 4 green tokens, 2 focus tokens held, 1 from the current turn's action, and a 4th stolen. And then he's got Asajj in the Shadowcaster, just, 2 force, can take an evade, can be very, very difficult to push damage through, and with that built-in tractor can really deal a lot of damage. He's also got heightened perception on Asajj, and you can tell that's solely for the purposes of hitting someone, tractoring them before they even get the opportunity to shoot. Maybe he can put someone on a rock. And Brandon's starting out with that 5K, putting Asajj behind everyone else. And that makes sense. You want to lead with your more hardy or unnecessary, in the case of Leighton, ships, and let Asajj come up. I think in terms of Brandon's list, what presents the easiest points for Kevin to grab hold of is Asajj. Enough fire and she will wither. On Kevin's end, we've got more of a mixed list. He's running Kaz in the Fireball with a very simple R5 to repair damage, shield upgrade, and heroic. He's got Elo, again, just very simple S-foils and heroic. And then Ray, which I believe this is a build more commonly known as the Death Ray. It's Rose Tico to get basically free target locks on people shooting you or on people you're shooting with the spending of a result that you don't want. Finn, add blank results for Rose's ability or Rose's ability. And then Freelance Slicer, which lets you spend target locks on people attacking you to jam them. And that goes a long way to upping Ray's survivability. You can jam something off someone, although that's not going to help him too much here against Brandon. Paylob has plenty of tokens. Asajj has the Force. But if you can jam a target lock off of Asajj, or you can jam Paylob and really start cutting into his token stack, that actually could be very helpful. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a solo commentating job today. So if you're watching, feel free to ask questions or just type something in the chat and hang out a little bit, and I will try to respond to those as best I can. Let me know what you think about who has odds of winning this game or their approach or what they're doing. Brandon, again, he looks like he's leading with Leighton. He's leading with Paylob. That's what he's been doing most of the time. He really likes it if his opponents can focus in on Paylob and just kind of blunt themselves on his complete inability to take damage unless you're rolling 3 or 4 dice. Kevin, in this game, does have what a lot of Brandon's opponents haven't had, which is a decent shot of getting through Paylob with a lot of Kevin's ships. Kaz, with his pilot ability, is going to be rolling 3 attack dice, so is Elo, and Ray is going to be rolling 4 or 5 attack dice. And yeah, Node Botanist points out both of these players right now are 3-0. So both of these players undefeated right now going into the 4th round. There will be 5 rounds, and what is maybe most significant about this game, to get to the final cut of this Corona Cup, you need 4 wins. MOV doesn't matter. You just need 4 wins. So whoever wins this match is guaranteed a place in the final cut. And the loser will still have an opportunity next week to win and get in the cut as well. So both of these players, very skilled, very familiar with their lists. Brandon changed a little bit during the week 3 change. So this is his first official match here with heightened perception on Asajj. And I believe he may have added contraband cybernetics as well. But he removed seismic bombs off of Paylob, which I think was probably a smart call. He didn't really need it. And yeah, we got that timer running now. That'll be roughly accurate. Okay, Leighton continuing to just come around a little bit. Kevin's flanking up this bottom side here. He would be very smart to try to keep these small base ships of his away from rocks. Asajj, very capable of putting a small base ship, especially Elo, is most at risk here with his 2 agility against Asajj. Asajj very capable of putting them on a rock before they get to fire with her shot. Kevin needs to be very careful about that. Asajj's shots are very accurate. She can move up, take a target lock, and then have the target lock and 2 force offensively to really make sure that happens. And all she needs to do is 1 point of damage. Ray, on the other hand, pretty immune against Asajj's or completely immune against Asajj's tractors. So, but Kevin keeping Ray back, probably a little afraid to see how quickly Ray can get chewed through by a Paylob and Asajj here. And it looks like we're setting up for what seems like a pretty direct confrontation from these 2 players. Asajj coming around the bottom here, moving a little bit faster than I thought she would. And Kaz coming in hard. He will have a shot on Leighton this turn. And that's actually a very good position for Kevin to be in with Kaz, because I don't think Paylob is going to have range for a reprisal shot, and Leighton is not going to have him in arc. You can say what you want about the odds of pushing damage at range 3 through a 3 agility ship defended by a focus, but I mean, you take the shots you can and you try not to get shot in return, and he's doing a good job of that so far. Elo too, and Node Botanist, I am saying Elo this match. I think I've finally figured it out. Elo is not going to be in range for a shot, I don't think. So Kevin has to be sitting and pondering whether or not he wants to boost and just try and take a pot shot at Leighton. That's a little dangerous to do, in my opinion, because Leighton's special ability on the pilot card is that if Leighton gets shot or takes a shot and the attack misses, Leighton gets a free evade token. So it's probably a bad idea here. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm wrong. Kevin is looking for a target lock, and it looks like he just barely has range to Leighton there with LO. And he will be able to take a target lock on that ship. So that was the right call by Kevin there. So look for mods instead of just trying to boost in and take a range 3 pot shot. Yeah, so if you miss your attack on Leighton, this is what makes Leighton such good filler. If you miss your shot on Leighton, she gets a free evade token, which makes it easier for her to evade the next shot, and so on and so forth. So Leighton just very good filler, very annoying to shoot at. Some games she dies immediately, but you never know if this is just going to be one of those games that she just lives forever and ever and ever. In general, ships that make you think twice about shooting at them can be very powerful. Kevin rolling in here, spending that target lock, but only getting a hit crit. And Leighton rolling a lot of blanks, but does have that focus token. And that'll be enough to make sure that the attack misses. But that's not half bad for Kevin here. Leighton will be getting that free evade that I talked about, but will not have the focus and evade that was kind of the worst case for Kevin to have to deal with on this Kaz shot. So he still has a pretty decent chance to push damage here. And it looks like, for my sake, and I appreciate this players, they're switching over to on-table dice instead of the off-table dice. So that's very nice. Looks like we've got a little bit of a weird tech thing going on. That'll happen sometimes in TTS. Kaz with the range 3 shot onto Leighton. It's going to be 3 dice with focus, defended by 4 with an evade. Still pretty decent chance for Leighton to avoid any damage here, especially because that's just going to be 2 hits. So Leighton only needs 1 natural evade here to defend, and yeah, she has plenty of that. So no damage going to be happening here, and Kevin going to be out of range of any reprisal shots, though, so there was no risk in him taking them. So we're turning to dials here. Kevin's in a pretty good position. He's free, and yeah, there's Paylob looking for Arc, and he's very much out, and that's okay. I'm sure Brandon would have preferred to be able to take a shot, but Brandon's also getting what he wants with Paylob here, which is Paylob has had exactly 2 turns to stack up the maximum amount of focus tokens that he is allowed to before getting into combat. So next turn, Paylob's going to be rolling into combat with continuing to have some weirdness here with these arc indicators. Paylob's going to be rolling into combat with 2 focuses plus a 3rd action that he'll take. Debris Gambit opens him up to be able to take a focus or evade action. So we'll see what Brandon prefers to do. He'll probably evade. I think he likes having options when it comes to spending those tokens optimally. So Paylob in a good position. Asajj is in a little bit of a weird position, considering where Kaz and Elo are. But she is capable here of 3 banking around that rock, or even just 1 banking, and being in a very good position to be flanking Kevin's entire list next turn. So the question here, if you're Kevin, really is, who are you going after? You have Paylob coming up kind of down the center of the map here. Brandon last turn did stress himself to rotate his arc to the right. That's not a big deal. It makes Paylob somewhat predictable because there's not a lot of blues on that dial. But what it means is that you have to be thinking, okay, Paylob can come straight at me with a 1 bank to the right, threading the needle between those rocks. Or Paylob has enabled himself to also 1 bank to the left and start to circle around with that gun out the right. So Kevin's options here really are twofold. He can collapse on Asajj, one bank from Elo, one or two hard turn to the left from Kaz, and then just a straight maneuver from Rey, and try to catch Asajj and really start to push damage through Asajj. His list is capable of that. And he's not going to be too close to any rocks in the process, so he won't be too vulnerable in the doing. The other option he has is continuing this approach that it looks like he's started already, which is coming in on Palob and Leighton. Now, Leighton not going to be there anymore. Leighton has a couple of options here. Just one hard turn, you could come around. I'd probably just one hard turn there and gum up the works a little bit. There's no real reason not to. And of all of the things Kevin can shoot, Leighton has to be absolutely last on his priority list here. But there's no real right or wrong option. Brandon's choices here are very straightforward. Kevin's list is really all in one place. Brandon just has to move so that he's pointing the max number of guns he can at a particular ship. If he can kill Rey, that's who he wants. But he's not in a great position to push damage through on Rey right now because Rey is trailing behind Kaz and Elo. But Kevin's choice is more interesting. Like I said earlier, Brandon's list is kind of really a two-ship list, and then Leighton's just thrown in there. If you can push even 1 point of damage through onto Palob, that's huge. If you can disable that stealth device and return Palob to just a 2 agility ship, it's going to be so much easier for you to start pushing damage through and get those 76 points of Palob. Leighton going to 5k and set up for a run next turn. The reason he's doing that is really just because of Leighton's auto blaster gets extra value if you are not in the person you're attacking's arc. So Leighton really wants to be flanking if at all possible and not going straight at someone. Palob moving up and taking that evade I talked about. He's checking right here to make sure that he is taking a white evade instead of a stressful evade because he can only do that if he's at range 1 of an obstacle. And so he's checking his little range 1 there, and he is within range 1 of 2 obstacles, so he's completely fine. He's in a little bit of an awkward spot for next turn. He's pointing straight at that rock, but for now he's all right. He's got that 180-degree arc covering a wide swath of the field. Okay, I didn't want to... I should have said this earlier. I always think that Asajj is going to bank, and Brandon really likes to pull out these 2 hard turns heading straight into the rocks. So now I feel like I really should have said something about that. But Asajj trying to make sure she's not left out of the party here, and pulling a 2 hard turn and taking a target lock. Looks like her only option is Elo there. Which is a bit of an unfortunate thing, because if Elo did, say, a 1 straight, Elo probably could barrel roll out of Asajj's arc completely. I think Brandon probably was hoping for Kaz. Nevertheless, Kaz going probably was Kevin's thinking here with Kaz, that he wanted to get out of what looked like a kill box being set up for him there between Palob and Asajj. I don't think he was predicting Palob's 1 straight, though, because he's still in a great amount of danger there of being shot not just by Palob, but Asajj has range on him, and Kaz is right next to that rock. If Kaz isn't careful here, he could get shot by Asajj, tractored onto the rock, and then shot at range 1, tractored by both Palob and Leighton. And that's just going to be a very, very dead Kaz if that happens. So Kevin has to be thinking pretty long and hard here about what he wants to do. And he's going to choose to barrel roll and try to get away from Asajj's ability to do that, while still allowing himself movement there for next turn. There's that 1 straight I was talking about with Elo, and Kevin's already on board the... No, never mind. Okay, yeah. I was going to say, Kevin's already on board the barrel roll train. He closed his S-foils to allow him to focus and then link into a barrel roll, and that's going to allow him to slip right outside of Asage's arc, still have a focus for offense, and the S-foils will probably give him that bullseye he needs to push full damage through Asajj as well. Rey just moving up nice and simple too, and will be looking for a target lock on the target of her choice, and that's going to be Asajj. So I talked earlier about Kevin has a choice here. He can go for Paylob or he can go for Asajj, and we're going to learn a lot depending on what he does. And I think his choice is clear here. He's going for Asajj. And that's probably the best call here. I mean, not only did Asajj's action essentially get wasted here with the target lock she's not going to use, Asajj is a little bit, unfortunately, going to be in a difficult place for next turn. Paylob was checking arc there. He was looking to steal Elo's focus, but Elo out of range of Paylob's ability to do that. That has to be range 0 to 2, and Elo's at range 3 of Paylob. So Paylob not going to be stealing anything here. And of course, Kaz has nothing to steal in the first place. So we're going to be getting into shots here. Normally, it would be Rey's turn to shoot first. But Brandon has heightened perception on Asajj, which means he can spend a force to shoot first, no matter what. He'd take priority shooting if he does that. The thing is, he doesn't really get anything from doing it here. He has nobody to put on a rock and nobody that he's going to manage to shoot before they... You use heightened perception in two places, generally. One, when you can shoot someone first and put them on a rock and stop them from shooting. Or two, when you think you can shoot and kill someone either before they get a chance to shoot or before they get a chance to kill you. And Asajj really has none of that right now. So she's just going to defer to Elo, who's going to roll full paint there. Absolutely spend that focus for 3 hits. There's no reason not to. And Asajj with just the 1 evade. It's going to be 2 shields from Asajj right off the bat. And that's exactly what Kevin wants to see there. Asajj already 1/5 dead with that first shot. And Rey's coming up right after. Asajj also not in a great position for next turn. Heading right into that rock, definitely will not get an action next turn. The force means that she'll still, be able to do something, but I could see an Asajj pulling a 5k next turn. But nevertheless, we still have some more shots here. Rey has what looks like a range 3 just barely into Asajj, but unobstructed, and Rey will be taking that 4 dice attack just as soon as they figure out what's going on with all of these weird arc indicators. So Rey has a 3 attack gun, but Finn allows her to spend or to add a blank to her attacks if they're in her front arc, attacks or defense. So really it's a 4 dice attack because she has that target lock. That's a really good start for Rey. That's a hit crit, I believe. She's just going to spend 1 force to make that into 3 hits and a crit. And Brandon is going to be in a very unfortunate position of spending all of his force on Asajj. No, yeah, because he doesn't have Maul. Oh, this is his old list. He must have added something. So I apologize if the list on the left is not fully accurate here. It says he still has Maul. There it is. I just couldn't see it on the thing. Okay, so he has spent most of his force there, but he's saving 1, and he's taking a crit. And let me take a look at what that's going to be so I can update everything. And that's going to be a fuel leak on Asajj, which is not terrible in and of itself, but it means that Asajj will have to is at risk of taking extra damage if she gets dealt another crit in subsequent terms of shooting. So here she is shooting Rey. She's got a hit crit coming in. It's at range 3, so Rey's rolling 2 defense dice. and adding the blank, Ray's just going to take one shield and be completely fine with that rather than blowing out on force. That said, that's not it. Kaz is still in a little bit of an unfortunate position. He'll get a shot here on Leighton. It's not a good shot, but Leighton has no tokens, so there's no reason not to take it. Your 3 naked reds against her 3 naked greens is still giving you a better than not chance to push some damage. But it's not going to happen here. 2 hits, 2 evades, completely even. Leighton getting that free evade, but not for any real purpose there. The main issue here is Pelob's shot into Kaz. That is probably going to be range 2. It's probably going to be unobstructed. And Pelob has plenty of tokens to play with on offense. Yeah, that's going to be range 3. They're completely parallel, so that's going to be unobstructed. If Kevin gets his way, he will get out of here with maybe just 1 shield on Kaz. I think that would make him happy for all that he's gained against Asajj this turn. So that's going to be 3 dice from Pelob versus 4 from Kaz, thanks to that range 3. And, well, no. Brandon thinking that he could also try to... Okay, no, Brandon's changing his mind. He's going all in on trying to push some damage through on Ray. Pelob is not in Ray's front arc, so Ray will not be able to add anything. Brandon's going to be spending that evade token he can't save till next turn anyway with Lando to get a reroll, but he doesn't get anything from it. So it's just going to be 1 hit coming in at range 3 on Ray. And she's pretty likely to be able to just evade all damage here. And yeah, there's that evade result. So no damage there on Ray. I can't help but think that a shot on Kaz may have been a better choice there, but Pelob just not in a very good position to try and make something happen. That does leave Kevin in a pretty good spot there. Back to full force on Ray, and he's taken 1 shield on Ray for putting 3 damage on Asajj, and I think Kevin's completely fine with that. Asajj in a bad spot for next turn. Of course, Brandon has been known to be in bad spots and turn them into very good spots. That's part of what makes him such an excellent, unpredictable player. I think what Kevin has to look out for this turn, Asajj has a lot of things she can do. She could 5k across the rock and all of a sudden be in a flanking position. She could there's a disappearing Ray right there. So it looks like they have paused the clock while they fix that, and I will try to do the same here. Let's see what their time is at. All right, so they're stopped the clock while they're working on this. So Asajj's unpredictability makes this a little bit interesting. In a way, and I've talked about this in previous games. In a way, and Kaz got deleted as well. Okay. When you have a maneuver that is optimal, it is sometimes easier to predict. For example, Pelob last turn. Pelob was stressed. The arc was pointed to the right. He was going to do a 1 straight, a 1 bank, or a 1 bank in either direction, and very straightforward to predict. Or some of the games I've casted with Charles, which were a matter of his optimal moves were one straight forward with all of his ships, and there was no reason for him to do anything else. Very predictable. Here, when you have Asajj in a spot where there's no real optimal move for her to take, it changes things a little bit. It makes it harder for you to predict. That said, in all the time that I've been talking about this, so they're just trying as best they can to figure out where Kaz was. Let me see if I can help them out here. All right, so it looks like Asajj is actually stressed, which makes sense because she mauled, and that's where she got her force back, and that's where I was confused with why she had a force. So Kevin essentially forced Brandon to stress to not take an extra damage through the use of maul. And that means that Asajj is not going to be able to 5K, as I was suggesting, which is good for Kevin because it means that she is a little bit more predictable than she was. The Shadowcaster is a little bit odd of a ship in that most ships clear stress through doing slower maneuvers. That is not the case for the Shadowcaster. The Shadowcaster's blues are their faster maneuvers. That's a 2, 3, and 4 straight, or all of the threes, 3 hard turns and 3 banks. What that means for Asajj is that Asajj needs to clear stress, and Asajj needs to do 2 things this turn, by and large. First, Asajj needs to point her gun at somebody. And second, Asajj needs to clear stress. That makes her a little bit more predictable here because there's not as many moves that Asajj can do that get her that. She also would really like to not do a move that just cripples her in terms of coming around for 3 turns. Like, for example, if a 3 hard turn to the right looks like a pretty solid move from Asajj here. You come around, you probably bump maybe both Elo and Rey, but you don't really get anything from it except for one decent shot from Paylob, and Rey is then going to have an absolute nightmare of a time trying to come back around. A 3 bank to the right might accomplish many of those same things, and might be Brandon's optimal move here. Rey, or just a 3 or 4 straight and just try to recover. But I would imagine we could see a 3 bank to the right coming in here from Brandon. The problem is he's going through that rock, so he can't rotate his arc or anything. So Asajj is going to be vulnerable here. It's just about reducing the amount of damage incoming during this 1 turn of vulnerability. With that large base, you can do that by flying so close to the opponent that they have no choice but to kind of fly past you. And then by the time they come around, you can come around. Leighton, and again, with what we were talking about, Leighton's very predictable here. Leighton is stressed. She's got to do a move, and she really wants to start coming back around. I think if she does, I think the Sikhs have a blue 1 bank, and then just the straights. So I could see a 1 bank here coming out of Leighton, and then maybe even a barrel roll to try to go in for a block on Kaz. Leighton a little bit out of the fight here, but certainly not out of the game. Could also just do a 1 hard turn, but then you would still be stressed. Again, that's not the worst thing for Leighton. Really, you just want to shoot with Leighton. Paylob in a bit of an interesting spot, but I think Brandon kind of showed his hand a little bit last turn, taking that range 3 pot shot at Ray with Paylob rather than a pretty decent shot at a no mod Kaz. And I think you're going to be seeing Brandon try to go all in on Ray whenever possible and really just try to bring Ray down before she manages to burst Asajj and Paylob to the ground. Some ships and people's lists, you lose the game more every single time they get to shoot. Fen Rao is like that in a scum list. Every time he rolls up and rolls 5 dice at you, you lose the game a little more. And Ray is kind of like that too. Every time she gets a primary front arc shot at you, you lose the game a little bit more than you were before. So taking Ray out is definitely a priority for Brandon. It's just a matter of what Kevin forces him to give up to make that happen. Paylob doing a 2 hard turn. And yeah, like I said, coming straight in on Ray, definitely wants to make that happen. And he's just going to be probably taking an evade here to keep his token count high. There's no real need for him to take a target lock because those green tokens allow him rerolls. But if he thinks that he might be rolling 3 or even 4 dice, I could see him choosing to do that. Instead, he's going to boost and take that stress. But really, just thinking that he's going to be keeping Paylob safe there from a range 1 shot if Ray decided to bank. And that's probably the right call. You really do need to keep Paylob out of those worst case scenarios. And that's what Brandon is so good at. The problem is that he is kind of blocking Asajj a little bit there. But no, Asajj is going to do that 3 hard turn that I was somewhat predicting that she wouldn't do. I mean, there are advantages to doing it, like I talked about. You put yourself in a perfect position to bump both Elo and Ray. But you leave yourself a little bit of a difficulty in coming around for the next couple turns. But Brandon clearly deciding that that's worth it. And Kaz doing what Kaz is completely open to do, which is just doing a 2 hard turn and taking that focus, probably with a range 1 shot there on Leighton. Elo flipping arc, or the S-foils back to open, and just bumping into Ray, clearing that stress. Not going to be taking an action this turn, but Elo completely fine with that. We'll be able to probably take a Talon roll next turn. And, let's see here. Who did Ray bump into? Ray bumped into Elo. So Kevin very absolutely making that move in order on purpose so that Ray will still get to shoot Asajj. And I can't quite tell, but I think Asajj will have a range 1 shot right back at Ray. So both of these ships might be taking quite a bit of damage this turn. Hard to say who's getting more of what they want. But both players going to have very heavy shots here. Ray taking a flanking range 1 shot from Paylob and a front arc range 1 shot from Asajj. And this could be a lot of damage on Ray very quickly, but it could also be quite a bit of damage on Asajj. We'll have to see. And it looks like Asajj is calling heightened perception. She might also just be looking to... No, she definitely spent a force. She's looking for heightened perception to take a shot first. It's difficult to tell without having the players in front of me because Asajj can also, at the start of the combat phase, spend a force to stress someone. And she may have chosen to do that instead because I don't see her attacking. Yes, she has stressed Ray to prevent the sloop next turn. But that means that Asajj is going to have a harder time pushing damage. Here's Ray's range 1 5 dice attack onto Asajj. Ray bumped, so Ray does not have a target lock, but Ray can spend one of her results to gain a target lock. Oh, because she didn't spend it last turn. That's right. So Ray can spend both of her force here to make that into an absolutely crushing 5 dice attack. She would be a little defenseless if she did that, but I think right now you really want that damage output. You could spend just one. Nope, but there he is. He's spending both. Because the opponent is in Ray's front arc, he can spend to a force to make even blanks into hits. Asajj's only happiness here is that there were no crits in Kevin's roll, so that Fuel Leak is not going to be doing anything. And Asajj spends her last force there to make that into just 3 damage coming through. But that is still half points on Asajj. And that makes Asajj to the point where it's only 4 more damage needed to put her down, which could be a single shot from Ray or just a couple of shots from these escorts here. And Asajj... using Maul multiple times to go back up to full force and triple stressing herself. Clearly, Brandon kind of saying, well, Asajj might not be surviving much longer. I've got Contraband Cybernetics for at least one more turn when needed to take actions or do red maneuvers, and I need to make something happen with this attack here on Ray. Elo looking for arc and actually has a range 3 shot on Leighton. I would recommend Kevin not make this attack because you are extremely likely to miss, and that's going to give Leighton a free evade, which is going to make Kaz's job much harder. I was going to say, really best case, you just make Leighton spend that focus, and he's at least done that. So Leighton will lose the focus and trade it for an evade token in advance of Kaz's shot. So here we go. We've got Asajj making a range 1 attack here onto Ray, and this is very, very important for Brandon here. If he does not roll particularly well here, if he gets his blanks, he didn't get to take an action for a target lock. But no, the dice are giving him everything he wants, and that's going to be 3 hits and a crit on Ray. Sometimes you just pray for the dice to give you what you're asking for, and he got it there. Ray spending a result to take a target lock on Asajj, because why not? And then taking quite a bit of damage on Ray. That's going to be 3 hits and a crit, even more than Ray did to Asajj. And even worse, that crit is a damaged engine. All of Ray's hard turns are red from now on, and Paylob still is about to have a range 1 shot into Ray's flank. Kevin seeing what he can make happen here with this range 1 into Leighton. 3 hits, a pretty good start. Leighton needs 2 natural evades to completely escape damage. Doesn't quite get it, but we'll have that evade token to only take a shield on Leighton. So a very bloody game so far. Ray is in a bit of a spot here, and Brandon very quickly starting to turn this game around a little bit with that one attack from Asajj. And Paylob here looking to do some damage. Paylob has an even better chance of doing real damage to Rey than Asajj did. He has both focus mods and reroll mods available to him with that Lando crew and his 2 green tokens. But his dice aren't going to be quite as good. Thankfully, he has the mods for this one. He's going to be spending a focus token to re-roll 2 of those, and he'll see what he can get out of it. And that's going to be 2 crits, and he'll probably spend that last focus to make that into a hit and 2 crits, and he's absolutely doing that. So Paylob without mods now, but Rey getting absolutely nothing for it and taking another hit and then 2 crits after that. A very, very hurtful turn for Rey. Oh no, at structural damage and then a direct hit on Rey. That's going to be 6 total damage on Rey. She only has 2 hit points left. And because of structural, she's at 0 agility as well. Brandon very quickly looking to turn this game around. With that one turn, he managed to put what looked to me like 8 total damage on Rey with 2 shots, and Rey doing only 3 in return. So it's a very, very difficult position to be in now if you're Rey. You have maybe one more turn here. And with Asajj choosing to stress Rey, that means that Rey cannot sloop. Kevin does not have the title that on the Millennium Falcon that would allow him to do that. On the other hand, Asajj also in a little bit of a pickle here. She is triple stressed, and her arc is pointed forward, not to the side. So she's kind of out of this game for a turn or 2. We might end up seeing here just a complete trade of Rey for Asajj. And I think, first, if that happens, I mean, of course, it's in Brandon's favor. Rey costs more than Asajj. But it's also in Brandon's favor because Asajj is the ship that Kevin has that is most able to do any damage at all to Paylob. 4 dice with rerolls and not requiring focus tokens to do damage is the worst thing Paylob can see brought to the table against him. And Brandon succeeding right now in making sure that that ship dies before it even gets to take 1 shot over at Paylob. So Kevin's suffering a little bit for his choice to take on Asajj first, but not so much that I think he's necessarily regretting it. He still has an opportunity here to trade Asajj for Rey and then say, my 2 escorts are better than your 2 escorts. Kill Leighton and get into range 1 and really push damage on Paylob with his higher agility ships. It's certainly still, we're in the middle of what is a very, very close game. Just 1 point apart right now. So let's talk about options here. Paylob, in a little bit of a thing, he needs mods again. He spent all of his tokens to do what Brandon is absolutely happy with, a crushing amount of damage to Rey in just 2 shots. But Paylob needs time now to build those tokens back up, which means he really can't be bumping. So Paylob probably just going to take a leisurely 1 bank to the left there and take a focus. He needs to build his collection. Asajj, I could see Asajj choosing to just stay right where she is, which she can absolutely do. And if she manages to bump Rey in the process, and Paylob can finish her off, more the better for Brandon. But this is where it's a little bit of a chess match. Rey could be going straight. So It's a matter of how fast. If Ray goes one straight and you do a hard turn with Asajj, you might wish you had stayed and just done a one bank and bumped into Elo. But if Ray does a 3 straight or even a 4 straight, you're probably going to wish that you had done a hard turn to the right with Asajj. So for these two players, it's absolutely just a matter of trying to outpredict their opponent. Elo is in an interesting spot as well. I could absolutely see Elo taking a white Talon roll here, really either to the right or the left, but I think a Talon roll to the right would be interesting. The problem you have to deal with is Leighton coming up the flank a little bit here. You don't really want to be taking a range 1 bullseye auto blaster up the back. Not only can you not evade crits, but that could be a 4 dice attack, and that's Leighton's threat. Is if you just completely ignore Leighton, which you really want to do because it's just a nightmare to kill, then you really start risking Leighton just kind of casually walking up here and starting to put 4 dice attacks or even just 2 dice unevadable attacks. And that's a problem for you. Paylob, yeah, just going to do that leisurely 1 bank, get the focus, start building the collection again, and put yourself in a little bit of a position to try and start dealing damage to Ray again. Leighton is going to be doing a 2 straight and just saying, I think Ray's going to be here. I'm putting myself here so that I can be the one to finish off Ray if that's what's needed. Here's the big one. Let's see what Asajj wants to do. And that's going to be a 2 hard turn. Not going to clear stress, but that's fine because the 3 hard turn would have taken you off the board. But he did pop Cybernetics this turn, which Cybernetics means you can perform red maneuvers or perform actions even if you're stressed. And Asajj is going to pop that Cybernetics to still be able to rotate her arc to the right here. Make sure that she can still do something while she's spending these couple of turns coming around, even if it's not as effective as flying straight at someone. So Kaz here, doing a 3 hard turn, and it looks like he hit that rock in the process. So we're going to see if he takes a shield of damage here. No, is completely fine. I feel like that was probably a little bit aggressive, but he's going to be back in the fight now. He can start taking shots at Paylob or at Asajj, and I think that's what he wants most of all. He needs to not have Kaz just be babysitting Leighton this whole game. So the main action from here on now is Ray and Elo. An interesting option that was available to Kevin here is he could choose to block Ray with Elo if he predicted Brandon's maneuver here and take a range 1 shot on Asajj. Elo's going to instead 4K and give himself a shot on Asajj. That's an interesting choice. Leighton is definitely in a position to punish that. And here comes Ray. A little fast. I don't know about that one. I think Kevin needed to commit either to going very slow or going very fast. And in the process, he has kind of, as is so many times the case, I say when you really need to commit to one extreme or the other to get an optimal result. And if you kind of choose a middling, you get a middling result. And that's what has happened to him here. He does not look like he will have Asajj in his front arc. And that's really bad because Asajj has heightened perception. Asajj rotated her arc to the right, which means Asajj has a range 1 shot on Ray. If Brandon chooses to do that, and he absolutely will, there's no question about it. Asajj could remove Ray from the field before Ray gets a chance to shoot at all. And that would be infinitely less likely to happen if Ray had kept Asajj in her front arc, which would have happened no matter what slow maneuver you did. And that's going to be a big problem for Kevin here. But that's it for the movement. Kevin's nightmare at this point is Asajj takes Ray off the board, and Kevin does not manage to kill Asajj in the process. And there's just a straight, I didn't realize he was taking a focus. Just an absolute straight misplay from Kevin, unfortunately. Either he didn't recognize that Paylob had moved his arc, or he just forgot about it. But he took a focus action on Ray and just fed Paylob a focus token for absolutely no reprisals. And that's got to hurt for Kevin, because any number of other decisions he could have made that would have helped him here, but instead he just gave a free token to his opponent that Paylob will be able to keep for next turn, and is going to make him much more of a threat. So that's very, very unfortunate. And this is, in a way, this is one of the advantages you get when you run a list that is unfamiliar for people. All right, here's heightened perception coming in. Kevin has forgotten about structural damage, it looks like. Ray will not be rolling any evade dice if Asajj chooses to shoot her, and why would you not? Because Asajj has 2 force, Asajj just needs to not roll 2 blanks with this 3 dice attack, and Ray is gone right off the bat. Nothing Ray can do about it. This is just down to luck here. There's a minuscule chance that happens, but nope, it does not. There's the 2 hits. Now, did Ray have... I'm talking about this, but it looks like the players are assuming Ray has Asajj in her front arc. Okay. Well, all right. I apologize, guys. I must have missed that, and I've been talking down Kevin, but he's going to give me a lot of shit for that later. Evidently, Ray has had Asajj in her front arc by just the teeniest of margins, and that's a really big deal. It let Ray spend her force to not die, and is allowing a 5 dice attack here. And that's going to be 3 hits and a crit coming through on Asajj. Or 2 hits and a crit coming through on Asajj. That's not going to kill Asajj, but that's going to absolutely activate Fuel Leak, no matter what Asajj rolls, which is going to do tons of damage. So Asajj is rolling here, and 2 blanks, and that is a dead Asajj. Fuel Leak finally coming back to Kevin's aid here, and this game just turned around. I want to see that arc. Let me see this. Wow, just barely Ray has Asajj in that front arc. Kevin, I'm impressed. That was a good job, and Brandon has to be just thinking, no. If I had done something slightly different. Oh no. That said, and that's very good for Kevin. Obviously, Asajj right off the board. He's going to be taking a couple of pot shots here at Paylob. Paylob still has Stealth Device, has 2 focus tokens, and just naturally evades that attack. Doesn't even need to spend anything. And he'll have another attack coming in here from Kaz. Again, really, Kevin's just trying to make Brandon spend that focus token he stole, and he will here, because that's three blanks. So he'll spend that focus token for a reroll. And Kevin saying, all right, 2 blanks. But no, there's the evade. But at least Kevin made him spend that focus. He won't be able to carry it over till next turn, and he just wishes that Paylob hadn't stolen that one in the first place. We've got 2 shots here. Ray is extremely likely to die. Leighton has what looks like a range 2. And Paylob also has what looks like a range 2. It's not impossible, but with structural damage, it's pretty unlikely Ray lives here. That actually might be a range 1 on Ray. And I have to think Brandon's thinking, man, I could shoot Elo, and I really want to start doing damage to Elo. But if Ray doesn't die this turn, I'm in a heap of trouble. So I gotta shoot. All right, that's going to be range 2 onto Ray. And that's just going to be an automatically dead Ray. It doesn't even matter because of structural damage. So Ray also removed from the board. And this game is bloody as hell. And that puts Brandon up by 2 points. 92 to 90. But he's not done yet. He has one more shot out the back here with Paylob. And I think he has either ship, neither of whom have mods. Nope, it is just going to be Elo at range 3. That's pretty good for Kevin. He'll have 3 evades to Paylob's 2 attack. So we'll see what happens here. Kevin's escort ships here, still full health. Paylob full health. Leighton down 1. We'll see what he can do here. That's going to be hit focus. If you're Brandon now, the question is, do you spend your focus? And it looks like he won't, and he'll do a point of damage to Elo in the process. So now we're back to kind of an equal spot. Both players are missing 1 shield on their remaining ships. So we've got about, this is an interesting point for these players. We've got about 5 minutes left in this game. And both players are within 2 points of each other. So they've got maybe 3 or 4 turns left here. This is a Corona Cup game. You play 60 minutes, and then you take 2 additional turns after that 60 minutes runs out. So both players have about 3 to 4 turns left, depending on speed of play here. And I wouldn't be surprised if they take longer to set up their dials this turn in particular because of how drastically the game state shifted in that last round of shooting. Both players losing their most expensive ship and definitely having to adjust their strategy here. So the question for both these players now is, who do I go after? This question is a little bit more important for Kevin because Brandon's place is pretty clear. Paylob has got to be flying away right now. He's got his arc pointed to the back, and he's stressed, so he can't turn around. He can't, move that quickly anyway. So Paylob probably going to be doing a blue maneuver here, 1 straight, a 1 bank, and focus again so that he can continue to build up those reserves. Leighton, a little bit of a strange place because that 1 hard turn is going to bump, and that's probably what he would like to do. He could do a 2 or 3 hard turn to the left and try to bump Elo. He could also take a K turn and just put himself in a very good flanking position. I think I would really like that 2 or 3 hard turn. Just put yourself right in front of Elo, and then if Elo flies past you, you get a nice flanking shot. The question here for Kevin is this. Paylob is super expensive. 76 points. Half on Paylob is worth more than half on either of Kevin's chips. So if Kevin goes for Paylob and gets half on Paylob and gives up half on Elo in the process, he's ahead on points. The problem is, Paylob is really fucking difficult to push damage through. And the best ship that Kevin had to do that just died. On the other hand, Leighton could be a lot easier to push damage on, not the least because you only need to do 1 damage to Leighton to get Leighton to half and pick up a nice sweet 17 points there, putting you in the lead. The problem with that is if you do that and you take half on one of your ships in the process, you are now behind. So it's a balancing act, and it's what do you think is most likely to happen? Kaz coming slowly around, that makes sense. He didn't really have a good opportunity to shoot Leighton, and the fact that Brandon intentionally bumped Leighton right there meant that Brandon was being very, very sure to keep Leighton out of arc. I think Brandon's ideal here is he's hoping to win by baiting Kevin into chasing Paylob and just taking pot shots out the back with Paylob, slowly whittling one of Kevin's ships to half, probably Elo because he's already damaged and he doesn't have a regen ability like Kaz does. He's hoping to do that and pray that his stealth device keeps him from losing, from taking damage in the first place. Kevin needs to be very careful here. He needs to not be taking focus actions when he's fighting against Paylob. And that's an advantage Paylob has. Elo is going to choose to Talon roll. And it looks like Kevin may have expected a K-turn there out of Leighton, but he didn't get it. And he's put himself in a very unfortunate position in the sense that that's probably in bullseye for that auto blaster. Now, this is if anyone's wondering, Elo's pilot ability is you can take white Talon rolls. So even though Elo was stressed, that's not a big deal for him. He can just keep that stress and turn around, but he won't get an action. He will be rolling attacks at Leighton, and that's going to be a hit crit. Leighton has 3 dice, but does not have any mods. And is going to be taking a hit crit right there. If that's a direct hit, that is a dead Leighton. It's Panicked Pilot, which is not going to affect them here, but is going to matter for next turn. That's pretty good. That's a pretty solid result for Kevin. We'll see if he takes any unfortunate damage there. And reprisal. Kaz is going to be taking a range 2 at Paylob and just rolling 2 hits. He'll force Paylob to spend that evade token and just continue to keep his tokens at a manageable level. Leighton now in a bit of a pickle for next turn, but we'll get there. That's going to be Bullseye Auto Blaster onto Elo, which is going to allow Brandon that 3 attack dice attack rather than the 2. You could see Kevin earlier adjusting that Talon roll, trying to get out of Bullseye, but it just wasn't happening. But fortunately for Kevin, that's only going to be 1 crit. Marksmanship allows him to change that to a crit. That doesn't really matter here, especially because Kevin evaded, and Kevin had the Leighton in arc, so that evade will be completely evaded. Or rather, that crit will be evaded. So very solid result for Kevin there. He has to be absolutely delighted with that. What he's less delighted by is that he misjudged that barrel roll by quite a bit, and he did not get out of Paylob's arc. The question for Paylob is, are you spending that focus token? No, he doesn't want to spend the focus token. So he'll do a shield to Kaz. Kaz is completely fine with that. And Kevin in a very good spot here. Kevin now ahead on points, and we are out of time. So 2 turns are left for these players, which means Brandon is now in the very unfortunate position of having to come from behind on points. And he's not in a good position to do that. I mean, I would never, ever count Brandon out of anything. But Paylob, not in a good position to come around and punish anybody. He's heading straight for the other side of the board, and it's going to take him at least 2 turns to really... I mean, he can move and boost, right? But if he does that, he's not stacking his tokens. So what you could see is Paylob doing a 2 hard turn around that rock, and then a focus, and then a 2 hard turn and boost the next turn. But that's still going to put him pretty far out of the fight if the combat's happening down around the bottom left corner there. Meanwhile, Leighton is double stressed for Panicked Pilot and has only 1 health left. So will not be getting any mods this turn. Kevin is in a decent position here because Kaz is free and clear to do whatever the hell he wants. And if Kevin's smart, that's going to be closing in on this disabled Leighton and trying to push through damage while flying away from Palob's ability to damage you. And Elo can... Here's the chess match issue. You don't know what Leighton's going to do, especially because 2 turns left, you're double stressed. If Brandon was trying to clear the stress, he'd do a 1 bank or a 2 straight or 3 straight or something. Try to bump Elo. So Elo has 2 good options here. He could do a 1 straight or a 1 bank and clear that stress and prep himself for next turn. He's at very low risk if he does that, because probably the worst thing that happens there is he bumps into Leighton and can't get shot. Or Elo can do another white Talon roll, because he can just do as many of those as he wants to. I mean, he's not going to be happy about the fact that he won't get a mod. But if Leighton, if Leighton does a 2 or 3 straight, or a 1 bank to the left, Elo doing a Talon roll could put him in an extremely good flanking spot on Leighton to take a range 1 flanking. And even without mods, that's pretty good. Yeah, One Arm Billy, I think absolutely. If he manages to take Leighton off the board, that's more than half points on either of Kevin's ships, neither of which are that close to half in the first place. And I think if you can manage to just... If you turn hard on Leighton here, not only do you put yourself in a good position to win this game, but you essentially make Palob... You take him out of the game and for almost no cost. So I think that's absolutely optimal there. But this game not over yet. Certainly, yeah, this is an extremely close game. And these players still within 15 points of each other. Half on either of these ships could absolutely make a difference. Palob, or rather Leighton, choosing the unpredictable route and doing a 2 hard turn, keeping that stress and hoping to bump Elo. He's going to be in a very sad... that's going to be a very sad Leighton if Elo chooses to 1 straight. Palob doing the 2 hard turn and taking a stress and rotating his arc to the right, just praying that he can take a pot shot at someone and be relevant. And then he'll 2 hard again probably the next turn and just keep his stress and be okay with taking a range, a shot out the front. Kaz just doing a 1 hard turn. He does have a shot right now at Leighton. I can't tell if that's obstructed or not from here. But I can tell you that that is going to be within range of Palob. So Kevin needs to be weighing here a slam action. And that's why I would have done a 2 hard turn to open yourself up for more options. He won't be able to shoot if he does that, but he'll probably ensure that he doesn't get shot. And there he is. Yeah, he's going ahead with the slam. He knows his list well. And he's saying, I'm ahead on points. What I need now is to not get shot. And he's doing it and just praying that he got out of arc. But it would have been better if he had gone slightly faster in the first place. And there's Elo doing that Talon roll, which Brandon's 2 hard turn did predict and outmaneuver. So Brandon succeeding there, and probably, well, Brandon at least is not getting shot here. Elo out of range for any targets, and Kaz weapons disabled from the slam. So the only possible attack here is Palob. He probably has Kaz at range 3. No, it looks like that slam action just barely got Kaz out, And Kevin has to be very, very happy with that. Once again, taking no damage, still ahead on points. Paylob is still double stressed. Leighton is still double stressed and is heading right to the edge of the board there. I don't know that there are any moves Leighton can do other than the one hard turns that keeps Leighton on the board. Thankfully, Leighton has white one hard turns. So here's what's going to happen this turn. Paylob is going to 2 hard turn and pray he has someone in arc to shoot. If Kevin plays his cards right, Paylob probably won't have anyone to shoot. There's the 1 hard turn from Leighton and the 2 hard turn from Paylob. Brandon's just doing what he needs to do to try to make something happen here, and it's Kevin's job to make sure that that doesn't come true. There's the 1 straight from Kaz, and there's that 3 Talon roll once again from Elo. As forward as possible to try to keep out of Paylob's arc and take that damage off of Leighton. So here's where we are. Elo has to be dealt 3 damage to be halved. Kaz has to be dealt 3 damage to be halved. Kevin is ahead on points. If Kevin manages to kill Leighton here, he wins this game. But that's not a good start to the ability to do it, especially because if he misses, Leighton gets a free evade token. And he absolutely misses, which means Leighton is getting a free evade token. And that makes Kaz's job just that much harder. But that's a solid roll to try to make it happen. Just 1 damage to get through here, and it's a hit crit. He needs 2 natty evades, and he doesn't get it. That is Leighton dead. 1 crit getting through, and that secures Kevin the win in this game. It is not impossible here that Paylob manages to have Elo, but Elo is only going to be 28 points halved, and Leighton was 34 dead. Brandon just doesn't have enough points here, I don't think, to make up that difference. Yeah, Brandon needs 33 points to get into the lead here, and Elo only gives him 28 to have. Brandon needs to pull an absolute clusterfuck of crits out of Paylob's ass here to fuel leak direct hit into Elo to win this game. And he doesn't even have arc. Oh no, the nail in the coffin for Paylob. These last 2 turns that were so important, Kevin managed to just squeak out of arc both times, rendering Paylob unable to do anything, and that is game. Kevin finally doing what so many lists couldn't do and taking down this Paylob Asajj that was causing so many players nightmares. And but what a game. I'm so thankful to both of these players. Let me see if they're in Discord and I can jump in here. Chat pointing out, yeah, but nothing happened to Paylob. Yeah, Paylob remains just absolutely untouched here. I think maybe he was shot at once or twice, but nothing happened to him. And Kevin manages to win here just by completely, essentially ignoring Paylob this entire game. Hey guys.
Hello.
That was a hell of a game.
Yeah.
It's the bloodiest game we've had in a long time, actually. Or at least that wasn't one-sidedly bloodied.
And that was so close in so many ways. That minuscule front arc Ray had onto Asajj there, which I spent 5 minutes describing why your move was bad, Kevin, because you weren't going to have front arc on Asajj. and then you
made the difference.
And then you roll, and then you had that green die, and I said, "Oh, Kevin's forgotten about structural."
I had to shoot Ray twice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That heightened perception not sealing the deal.
Ray
there.
survived exactly as long as she had to.
Absolutely. Chat was pointing out, people are saying, oh, this is is this finally the time that the Asajj Paylob finally meets its match? But one of the commentators pointing out, yeah, but Paylob still didn't take any damage.
Yeah, no, I was saying this during the game after Rey died. It was like I wanted Rey to actually pull the stealth device off of Paylob before she died. I'm not upset with trading Rey for Asajj. At least not the way that we're.
But Brandon playing very, very well and saying essentially, I'm going to make sure that doesn't fucking happen. Whatever happens, Rey is not getting a range 1 shot out of the front arc at Paylob.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, thanks for letting us watch this, guys. Brandon, that was a hell of a game. Do you have any comments you want to make, or you want to talk about your approach at all?
Well, basically, all I had was an approach in response to the fact that he had me on initiative, so I didn't want to joust him in the gutter.
Right.
So I had to basically not pick a corner. And I didn't know which one he was going to be in, so I threw together what I did in response, and it was fine, except that it was the opposite side from where I wanted it to be, so I didn't have the extra rock up there that I would have liked to have had. Basically, this the little dude that's just kind of off here to the side. If it had been over here, essentially, I would have felt better about everything.
Sure, that makes sense.
As such, because of that approach, I wasn't able to do what I intended to, which was target one of his small ships and put it on a rocket I-7 and then demolish it.
Yeah, absolutely. So. We were looking at that move Kaz made with that over by that tiny rock and thinking, oh no. That's a very dangerous spot for you to be in right there in front of Asajj.
Well, and then he rolled away, so it was no longer a danger. And what I was planning to catch with the hard 2 was if he went all in to try to get Elo close enough to hope maybe try to get 4 dice against Paylob to get rid of the stealth device.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So I thought he might do a 3 bank or something to cut in across there, which was going to pull him right next to the rock, assuming he takes the target lock to avoid giving me the focus. He has no defensive mods. I'm at range 1 or 2 with a target lock and 3/4. I think I can push it through.
Yeah, being very defensive of Paylob there, sure.
So, but yeah, that's all I had is just the, I was fine with the trade. The problem is that I was, it actually wouldn't have even been a trade if he hadn't had the range 1 in arc or had the arc itself.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, absolutely. I think if Rey had not had that teeny bit of front arc, this game would absolutely be Brandon's.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
No argument from me on that.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, congrats on your win. Congrats on making it into the cut. You're 4-0 now. That means you're guaranteed a spot. You want to talk a bit about your approach here, facing off against Brandon's list?
Yeah. I mean, basically, the initiative absolutely made as much of a difference as Brandon said. Like I saw that, and not only did I want like Kaz moving after Asajj, I wanted him to have to deploy everything at once, and then I could respond to that. I set up, equally, I also didn't want this rock in my way. So part of me was like, I would really like to have Rey jousting Asajj almost head on, but and Asajj was pointed the other way, and I didn't expect the 5K on the first turn, so I figure, okay, well, I'll set up here, and I'll turn away and loop around this rock and see if I can catch Paylob when he's kind of trying to slow roll up here. My plan was to send my 2 small ships on a flanking and have Rey just kind of laze up the middle here. When Asajj 5K'd, I kind of suddenly got very worried, and I played a little bit cagier with my small ships after, and I took a while on my maneuvers for a couple turns because I did not want to get extra stress or tractors from Asajj. But yeah, in the end, like when combat started, I just decided to go put all my chips into kill Asajj as fast as possible and deal with what happens after.
Yeah, it feels like that was the plan for both of you. Kill Rey as fast as possible, kill Asajj as fast as possible, and that it happened at the exact same time. As I could feel both of you in that turn after they both died, just kind of realizing there's 5 minutes left on the clock, and you both just accomplished what you've been trying to accomplish since start of game, and trying to think, oh God, what am I doing now?
Well, I wasn't even gunning for Rey. He put Rey out there, and so I had to take it. Like I said, I didn't
Sure.
want Rey. I wanted to kill the 2 little ships, stress Rey,
Right,
and leave her basically out of position.
right. But he just put Rey in a position where you just couldn't really ignore her.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, guys. And this was a hell of a match to watch. So I appreciate it. And good luck with your next match. Brandon, you're still very much in this. If you win your next match, you'll be in the cut. And Kevin, good luck with your next one as well.
Yeah, thanks.
And
thanks for streaming.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. Hope you all had